At issue this Sunday morning, President Trump making more plans to use the National Guard. But the move would raise legal questions. We're getting analysis from a law professor. And nightly anchor. The new face of NBC Nightly News anchor Tom Llamas visited Philadelphia this past week. How he's working to become a trusted voice in this divisive political era.
NBC10 at Issue starts now.
Welcome to NBC10 at Issue. I'm Lauren Mayk. With President Trump planning to deploy the National Guard to another U.S. city, Pennsylvania's governor is talking about what he's been preparing for. Well, it comes as a federal judge on Tuesday ruled President Trump acted illegally when he sent the National Guard to Los Angeles earlier this year. He has since deployed troops in Washington, D.C., and the president on Tuesday talked about his plans to do the same in Chicago.
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C., District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. I would love to receive calls from governors and mayors saying they need help. We'll help them. We have a lot of people. We have a great force. We have a great military force.
Earlier that same day, Governor Josh Shapiro was asked about the possibility of National Guard troops being deployed to cities in Pennsylvania. Here's some of what he had to say.
Ever since the president made what I think is a wrong-headed decision to take the Guard away from the governor and put them on the streets of Los Angeles, we have been preparing for such a thing to happen here in Philadelphia. We've received no word that it is imminent by any stretch, but given what the president's rhetoric has been, given the way he has acted, and what's clear about the court decision today, the way he's acted outside the bounds of the law, the president's decision in Los Angeles were ruled to be unconstitutional. We have been preparing for this.
The president's deployment of National Guard troops to U.S. cities does raise legal questions. And I discussed those questions this week with Craig Green, a constitutional law professor from Temple University. Professor, it's great to see you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
So let's walk through what we are seeing with the Trump administration regarding the National Guard and what has been talked about that could happen in the future. First of all, just from a baseline, how can the National Guard be used? What is the general expectation of how that force can be used by the president?
Yeah, in addition to straight up military engagements, they've also been used for true emergencies, especially national emergencies and things like that. The limits come around that the National Guard or any other military unit cannot be used for ordinary law enforcement. That's why we have local police instead of what would look more like a totalitarian state with military soldiers walking around with big guns. That is an act of statutory act by Congress. Congress in the 1870s decided they did not want military to be involved that way in ordinary law enforcement. And that's the kind of limit that applies to National Guard use in ordinary situations, regular criminal law enforcement.
So we saw this ruling by the judge regarding how the National Guard was used in Los Angeles. Sort of walk us through what the legal issues are there and where this could go.
Yeah, I mean, the recent times have two existing examples of the Trump administration using the National Guard, and then there are these other possibilities in the wings or on the horizon. Trump used the National Guard in Los Angeles largely for immigration enforcement, and he claimed to protect federal buildings. The second episode is a very special case in D.C. There are different rules for the ability to use force in the District of Columbia because it's not a state. It's not an ordinary citizen. They don't have ordinary state governments. But the threat in the future is that the Trump administration has said that they plan to send National Guard forces to any city that they believe might be having a criminal law enforcement problem. And the number one on their list is Chicago. And there are other democratically run cities short on the list, including Philadelphia.
The governor of Pennsylvania has mentioned Philadelphia recently, but I haven't heard President Trump specifically mention Philadelphia by name. Have you heard him listed by name?
No, his history with Philadelphia is longer standing, as he described Philadelphia as a place where bad things happen. So I think that's the reason that people in Philadelphia, including the district attorney and others, have taken a strong preemptive stand to try to make clear that whatever is happening in Philadelphia, incredibly ordinary circumstances in Philadelphia, are not a justification for National Guard, just as Pritzker in Illinois and Chicago has made very clear that whatever else is happening in Chicago, it is not a justification. It's not a national emergency. It's not a uprising, insurrection. It's not any of those things. It's just ordinary city work being done by perfectly capable, competent, although imperfect, city officials and city police.
What is the legal difference between a Washington, D.C. and a Chicago, for example?
Yeah, the District of Columbia is a legally very peculiar kind of animal. It's run by the federal government. There is no guarantee of state government or local government. The only local government they have is whatever Congress gives them. So when Congress wrote what was called the Home Rule Act in the 1970s, they had a little escape valve that allowed the federal government and the president, at least temporarily, to take over, even sort of commandeer the local police force. And that's why D.C. is so different from Los Angeles, different from Chicago, different from any other city in the country, is because it is literally a creation of federal law. There is no state law or local law that exists outside of Congress.
President Trump has said he would like to hear from governors or mayors who might say, hey, we would like the help. Send us that help. If that were to happen, would that make any difference? Does that change the legalities if there is an invitation of sorts?
Not for the scenarios we're talking about. Congress passed a law limiting the ability to use the National Guard. And not a mayor, not a county official, not a governor can get around those limits. National Guard, simply this country is not designed to have military forces doing criminal law enforcement. That's not the way the country works, and that's what Congress said. Furthermore, of course, it is true that's incredibly unlikely to happen in any of the states or cities that Trump has in mind. So there are states and cities in this country that have relatively serious crime problems compared to Chicago, for example. But those are all in Republican states. And so those governors, which are the most likely to be compatible with Trump's kind of requests, are the least likely to violate their state authority that way. And then the states that Trump has in mind are the ones universally that are governed by Democratic officials who are the least likely to want Trump commanding troops on their city streets. So I think it's unrealistic, but I think legally speaking, for these scenarios of ordinary criminal law enforcement, Congress has the last word, and they have said no.
If the president's prevented from using National Guard troops for specific reasons, he could still send them, right? They would just have to do specific duties.
The main thing that they cannot do, which is what I've been referencing, the main thing that they cannot do is criminal law enforcement. There needs to be a reason to have them on the streets other than criminal law enforcement. And thus far, I think those are really the only reasons that the Trump administration has put forward to talk about Chicago. This is not a situation where even there are lawful protests in the streets, as there were in Los Angeles. And there is no Homestead Act, as there was in D.C. This idea of expanding the limits of federal military appearance in the streets of Chicago or any other American city, that really risks, under the arguments that have been made, it really risks violating a statute of Congress, as well as pretty basic principles of who's in charge of crime control.
A lot of legal issues at play that we'll be watching as this continues to develop. Professor Green, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate your expertise.
Thank you.
And still ahead, a conversation with NBC Nightly News anchor Tom Llamas as he paid a visit to Philadelphia. How he's working to build trust with people on both sides of the political divide.
This is NBC 10 at Issue.
Since taking over as anchor of NBC Nightly News earlier this year, Tom Llamas has taken steps to put his own stamp on the broadcast. This past week, he visited Philadelphia, and NBC 10's Tracy Davidson sat down with him to discuss building trust with a national audience that is politically divided.
So we talked before you took over, and now it's been a couple months.
Yeah.
What's it been like?
Yeah, it's been wild. Usually summer is a time where things slow down, but we've had an incredible news cycle. Big breaking news, extreme weather, news out of the White House, international events. We've taken the show to Alaska, to Kerrville, to Washington, to the White House, right there in the North Lawn. So it's been an incredible ride so far, and it hasn't been slow at all. Yeah.
You talk a lot about your parents and about the lessons they taught you that you learned from them. Are there any lessons that continue to come up even in these last 3 months and you say, oh, this is exactly what my mother was talking about?
You know, my parents always taught me diligence, to work very hard, and I think I take that in day out. My parents came from Cuba. They lost their country, and so I know how important it is to have a free press and how important our job is day in, day out. And so what I bring to the anchor desk and what I really bring to NBC News, I think, is that I have a mindset that we work for the viewer, and I really do believe that. So day in, day out, when we're picking stories, when we're thinking about sending teams to different parts of the world, it's how does this affect our viewers? How is this going to help our viewers? And so I think those are all things I've learned from them.
I'm happy to ask this question of a man. We usually ask women about their work-life balance and their family balance. Tell me about that for you.
You know, it's hard. I'm learning because I have this new job. People ask me, how much has your life changed? I say, I'm 100% busier. Even though I had a show before, it's just there's a lot of demands. Every minute of my day is planned or booked. There's been a lot of travel. I have 3 wonderful kids. I have an amazing wife who, lucky for me, she worked in this business, so she knows how it is.
She gets it.
And she's the executive producer of our household, as I say. But no, it's definitely been hard. My kids have always known me to be a network correspondent or anchor, so they know that I may jump on a plane at any given moment. But when I come back, it's dad time, and it's family time, and it's time with my wife. And so my rule is when I'm home, I'm home. And when I'm at work, I'm at work. And sometimes those two collide, but that's life. You know, we all figure it out. And people that have any type of job have work-life balance issues because it's just tough. It's tough to be a parent who's there all the time and somebody who's really committed to their career.
You've been in this business and covering a lot of stories for a long, long time. This is different, next level up, right? But you're still taking in a lot of information and a lot of the news that goes on. And I know that we hear from our viewers all the time that it's stressful and sometimes fills them with anxiety to see the news of the world. And certainly there are resources, you know, for journalists as we process it all. Tell me about how you process everything that you report on.
Yeah, look, it's hard, right? Because you can't lose your humanity. I think as a journalist, if you lose your humanity, you're not telling the full story. And I also think by keeping that humanity, that's how we connect with one another. I won't lie, it was very rough last week when we had the shooting during a school mass at a school that I grew up going to schools just like that. My kids go to schools just like that. And so that was really hard. But also in that day, we had a cost of denial piece, which was about 2 brothers. And the insurance company had accepted the treatment for one brother, had denied the treatment for the other. And so this family was struggling with that. So we had a lot of stories affecting children. And on a day like that, that was really hard. At the end of the day, that's like kind of when I go to my family, I hug my kids a little tighter and talk to my wife. So there are tough days, but at the end, you know that you're there for a reason, and that's to deliver the news, and you're there to bring back the story. And so I never lose sight of that. But as you know, there are good days and there are bad days, and I think it's just good to talk to people about it.
Yeah. You said cost of denial. Talk to me about Nightly News. Tell me about cost of denial. We talked a little bit before you started.
Yeah.
Tell me about the focus on that.
It's launched, and it's one of the things I'm most proud of since we've started. Basically, anywhere I go in this country, I hear from people about issues they have with their insurance companies, whether it be housing insurance or health insurance. And I feel like there was something there. And so we launched this series to hear from viewers and to tell their stories about issues they were having that maybe seemed unfair and look into them. And what we've gotten back are hundreds, if not thousands, of emails of cases. We've already gotten results for our viewers, people who were, you know, at a turning point when it came to their insurance on whether they were going to pay out of pocket or they really needed this coverage. We've had great reporters like Ann Thompson and others who have sort of led the way with their reporting. And the stories we've told, I will never forget. Stories of people not getting the right respirator and then dying because they didn't have the right insurance and something happened there. Stories of those two brothers where one got covered and the other didn't, and the parents didn't know why. To doctors who are getting bankrupted, they say, because of practices by the insurance companies. We've been able to tell those stories, and I really think we've tapped into something because we're getting so much viewer email and letters.
Talk to me more about the relevance, because that just proves it right there, the relevance of nightly news. But there are so many other platforms right now for people to get their news. Tell me about where that sits in the landscape.
I think with any type of news right now, if you want to survive and thrive, you have to be everywhere. NBC News, we have nightly news, we have Today's Show, Dateline, those marquee shows. We also launched a streaming network a few years ago, and we sort of doubled down when others pulled back, and it's now making a profit. It was smart to do that, and our viewers are growing every single month. More and more people are tuning to us on streaming. And then like 10 years ago, NBC News doubled down on digital. NBCnews.com is now its own thing where it's beating CNN.com and NewYorkTimes.com on some days. Breaking stories, and it's in the palm of their hands. So NBC News really is everywhere right now, and I think that's the name of the game.
How do you achieve trust with both sides of the political spectrum? Because I hear it all the time, and I usually just laugh it off and say, well, if both sides are complaining equally, I'm on the right track. But how do you deal with that?
Look, I think I didn't invent these tenets of journalism, but I live by them, which is you got to be tough but fair. Right? And you have to go in there without fear or favor. And I think if you follow those rules, you're going to get it right. I think it's good to hear from others in the newsroom, make sure everyone is sort of weighing in to hear people and the way they're seeing things. I think it's important to follow up, and if you're tough on the Republicans, you're going to be just as tough on the Democrats. And I think that's what NBC News has always done.
Yeah. Let's talk about football. You're a Dolphins fan.
Yeah, fins up. No, I'm not in the right town.
Fins up. Tell me what your view of Eagles fans is.
Oh, I mean, I think Eagles are great. I mean, you guys won the Super Bowl. I mean, this is going to be your year. I know they don't want to talk about repeat. They want to talk about, I think it's called like continued success. It's going to be tough to have back-to-back championships, but the Eagles look really good. I think they're a strong team. You guys showed that last year. I mean, you guys were pretty much unstable.
And so tell me about your food. When you watch football.
Oh, okay. We love wings. Me and my son, we house wings. We love all types of wings. My son is young though, and he'll always try to eat wings that are spicier than he can handle. So it usually ends up with like a gallon of milk and some tears, but we get through it. We like wings. We love ribs also, and that's pretty much it. And we're in Philly now, so I'll probably have some cheesesteaks.
Well, I'm glad you said that because we got you one.
What? You're joking?
No, I'm
kidding. I'm actually starving. Are you serious or no?
I'm serious.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'll open it for you.
Is there? Okay, I just want to make sure.
All right.
So, is there a proper way to eat this bad boy?
Well,
this over here, yeah.
I mean, no.
Let's see.
No, there's no rules. Not with
I like mine
cheesesteak.
a little bit spicy. Let's see how this.
I don't know.
This is hot out the oven, though. Can I eat this, or am I going to burn my tongue?
Well, no, we kept it in a.
Ooh, wow! Look at this. Look at the profile on this bad boy. Look at that right there. You have to take a bite with me. If I'm going to take a bite, you have to take a bite with me.
Fine. Okay.
Actually, I think we can do this. Ready? Can we cheers? We cheers.
Oh yeah, to the Eagles. Go Birds.
And the Dolphins.
All right, fins up and go Eagles.
And go Birds. Oh.
Yeah?
It hits the spot. Are we allowed to say where it's from or no? It's so good. Or is it made here? Do we know? So good. Oh, you made my day. I was starving. That's great.
Perfect.
Made my day.
Perfect. Now, how does that compare to a Cuban?
A Cuban sandwich?
I'm assuming you like Cuban sandwiches.
I love Cuban sandwiches. I just had one with Al Roker a couple weeks ago in Miami. It's a different sandwich. The Cuban sandwich is interesting because it's both ham and pork.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of the pig that's being eaten there. And there's some cheese, but not like this. This is great. I mean, this is Philly, and when you have a bite, it sort of warms everything inside of you. This is so good. I can't stop.
I'm sure it'll be the first of many.
You can see Tom Llamas anchor NBC Nightly News every weeknight at 6:30 right here on NBC 10. We'll be right back. Welcome back to NBC 10 at Issue. I'm Lauren Mayk, and I'm here at City Hall where city leaders are preparing for next year's celebrations of America's 250th birthday. This past week, the city held an event to talk about how they plan to bring those celebrations to every corner of the city. NBC 10's Yukari Nakayama explains.
Plans for the 250th anniversary of our country in Philadelphia continues to ring through with their Bring It On event.
Bring It On is built on 3 pillars: activations, beautifications, and celebrations.
We will bring the spirit of celebration to every part of Philadelphia, from bustling commercial corridors and vibrant business districts to residential blocks and community spaces.
That will include block parties, public art, planters, cleanup crews, as well as beautifying about 20 corridors, which are hubs of local businesses and gathering places around the city.
Beautification looks like going corridor by corridor and adding beautiful elements to really bring to life the celebration. Right? Just imagine gorgeous, beautiful, large street planters with 250 commemorative decor, beautiful benches where you can sit, and then in 10 years you can go back and sit again to rekindle those experiences.
Michael Newmis says the city and its partners brought in more than $100 million to make it all happen. One of those corridors, 40th and Lancaster. City leaders vowed to clean up and beautify areas to promote the success of small businesses where it's needed most.
We're part of this. And so that's why it's exciting to get these resources, to see our businesses thriving, survive, not just surviving, thriving and being more sustainable.
The 250th anniversary is all about including those who make Philadelphia, Philadelphia.
People need to know that we are celebrating and we're being celebrated.
The city will be releasing a full list of those corridors soon, as well as a year-long calendar with cultural festivals as well as celebrations come next year. Here in West Philadelphia, Yukari Nakayama, NBC 10 News.
For more on the city's plans to celebrate America's 250th birthday, go to NBC10.com or our NBC 10 app.
This is NBC 10 at Issue.
Before we wrap up this edition of NBC 10 at Issue, a reminder, you can see more of my interviews with lawmakers, candidates, political experts, and voters. It's all on my Battleground Politics podcast. You can watch episodes on NBC10.com, on our NBC Philadelphia YouTube page, or you can listen while you're on the go. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. That does it for this edition of NBC 10 at Issue. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.